feeling the need for speed lately. What better way to feed that need than with a brand new EDF jet? I'm Alex from Hangar 14 RC, and today we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at the Freewing 80mm Mirage 2000. Here we have the V2 variant of the Freewing Mirage 2000. Like I mentioned, this is the 80mm high performance edition of the Mirage 2000. We're gonna be flying this on a 6-cell battery, and I can't wait to get this thing together because watching all the reviews and the videos and stuff online, not only is this thing fast, but it sounds absolutely incredible. A lot of that has to do with some of the upgrades that they've included with the version 2. One of those upgrades being the new motor, and the second one being the 12-bladed ducted fan. Now, if you guys have been a watcher of this channel before, you'll know that we did a review on the Vulcan 70mm EDF, which I absolutely love. That was one of my first real ducted fan jets, and that has a 12-blade EDF fan in it as well, and it sounds really, really good. It's not crazy loud, it sounds smooth, and it sounds clean. Literally every time I bring that plane to the field, everyone's like, man, that thing sounds awesome, and it looks like it flies awesome, and it does. So I don't really expect any less out of this Mirage. One thing to notice right out of the way with the V2 of this is that the tiger meat, or like the crazy livery that you see on some of the pictures, is no longer factory installed. It is actually an optional livery, which I believe we actually have the decals for in here. So if you want to put that on, helps increase visibility, or if you're a fan of that style, you can absolutely do so. However, I think for now, we are going to just leave the military livery on here. It actually has a lot of detail on it, which makes it really nice. So I'm excited to start putting this thing together. So let's get everything out of the box here and see what we're working with. This thing looks absolutely incredible right away. I think we have some of the drop tanks and stuff in here yet. We're just gonna set this to the side right now and take a look at what we have. First impressions, I absolutely love the amount of detail on this. Obviously, with the molded EPO foams of today, you can get quite a bit of detail when it comes to body lines and things like that. It doesn't look too tacky because they're not like painted on, or it's not a decal. It's actually, you know, in the actual mold of the plane. And second off, we actually get a pretty nicely detailed cockpit in here. This looks absolutely incredible. You get the instrument panel in there, which looks like it's printed on. We actually get a pilot figure in there. This looks incredible. I love that. Looks like the hatch is easily accessible, just pulling that pin back there. You get to remove the whole canopy so we can get access to everything on the inside. As far as battery goes, like I mentioned, this is a 6-cell powered airplane, so we went with the recommended battery, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is a 6-cell 4000. Yep, it's a 6-cell 4000 60C battery. This is the Admiral Pro battery that Motion sells with a lot of their airplanes. I believe it's a 4-cell 5000 that I run for the Vulcan 70mm. That actually gets a decent amount of flight time, so 4,000 milliamp, 6-cell, probably a little less, especially if this is the high performance model. We'll be flying this thing pretty fast, so we'll probably burn through this pretty good. But you're looking at about, I think it was like around $100 per battery for these. So not the cheapest thing on the block, especially when you're getting into the bigger EDS. It's kind of a bummer. Batteries get expensive, but that's the game we play. Assembly wise, this doesn't look too terrible. Looks like we have our wings separate. So it's a Delta wing, so we just have the 2 wings, and we have our vertical stabilizer. Looks like we have the nose cone, which I believe, if it's like their other models, just magnets on. This looks like it screws on, possibly. I don't see any magnets on here. I think it probably goes on with when you put the vertical stabilizer on. I should probably read the instructions, but we'll get to that. So along with the plane itself, we do get these little drop tanks, or I guess not little, these are actually pretty big, that go on the underside of the wings. You can put those on if you choose, which we probably will because I think it looks really good, especially on the Mirage. And then we have our nose cone in there, and then some stuff for the landing gear. So here we have everything laid out. Doesn't look like a ton of pieces, but enough pieces to put together for us. Looks like we have to install the main landing gear, obviously put the wings and the vertical stabilizer on, and then we have another little bag of accessories to put on as well. So overall, doesn't look too bad. So let's go ahead and start getting this thing together. So taking a look at our handy dandy instructions here, it actually tells us that we need to start at the back of the plane. And I actually thought we had to screw this in, but it actually glues in thanks to some glue that they actually provided us. So thanks Freewing for including the actual glue for this. We have to glue this rear engine nozzle on, as well as these rear spats, I guess you could call them, or the fairings for the wings that go on the underside here. So glue the back end of this on, we can move on from there. I didn't say how much to use, but we're not gonna glue monster this whole thing, just enough to get it to what I imagine be enough to sit on here nicely. Make sure everything's lined up. I do need to invest in one of those like actual stands to build these on, because I just have like this piece of plywood, which it works fine, but it could be better. All right, so here's where we actually glue these pieces in. So these should just sit right here. Seems like everything does fit together pretty nice here. I feel like this side definitely fits better than this side. There's a little bit of gap in the front. Maybe because the exhaust nozzle is a little turned or something, but it looks like we're still getting a decent fit on there. So we're just gonna hold this here for a couple minutes, let that glue set. The next part here, so I don't know if they didn't update the instructions from the V1 to the V2, but it looks like V1 or the original instructions say to install the rudder servo, but if you take a look at our vertical stabilizer and our rudder, they already installed it for us. So that's pretty nice. We don't have to do that step. So we should just be able to pop this in here and hook it up. So this little screw here needs to go up and through after we attach our rudder servo here. Now, another thing I'm noticing here is that all of the ESC cables are running up to here. So we gotta kind of tuck those down in there so we can get this to fit. I feel like I'm pinching wires a little bit. So I don't want to. This is a little awkward, I'm not gonna lie. A lot going on in this area right here. Just give her a little finesse and we're good. That's a lot better. I can actually get the screw in there now. And then we're gonna need a bit of a longer screwdriver, so I'm just gonna pull this out here so we can get all the way up through the bottom of this up to the top of the tail, which will be a little interesting, I think. How many times am I gonna drop this actually inside of the plane? Probably a lot. So right here is where we gotta drop that whole thing down in through, which is gonna be interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna pull this up here. I need like a magnetic screwdriver. That would be helpful in this situation. What I'm actually gonna do is just take a little bit of this glue. It might be a little sacrilegious, but we're gonna make it work. And take a little bit of this glue, drop her in there just to hold it on a little bit. Okay. There we are. Now we're gonna very carefully try and feed this up through there without knocking it off. There we go, maybe. Hey, let's go. This feels like it's stripping very easily, I'm not gonna lie. I have 3 different size screwdrivers here that I have. This one seems to fit okay. I don't know if it's like cross-threading or what. This is just really awkward to get at, I'm not gonna lie, and it's kind of tough to tighten. But imagine we're going into plastic. I'm really trying not to strip this in, but it feels like it wants to really bad. All right, I'm trying a bigger screwdriver. I don't know if I can get this one up through here. Okay, thank God. There we go. Tip for this, use a big screwdriver. That was honestly probably my bad, because I have this nice, or I thought was nice, screwdriver set that like the bits are replaceable, but it just seems like for whatever reason on some of these, like they're too sharp, they're too pointy, and it doesn't allow them to seat properly, where this one, you know, it's more flat on the top and it allows it to actually seat properly in the screw. So I'm just gonna leave that over there for now. With that step done, we're gonna go ahead and set the fuselage out of the way for now. Set this over here for the time being, and we're gonna work on our wings. So the main landing gear do come separate. Looks like we need to install them into each wing panel. Pretty straightforward, looks like 4 screws on each side to screw these in. Only thing I am maybe a little concerned about is that my flying field is a grass runway. So this is going to be pretty much flying on grass fields only. They do maintain it really, really well. I've had no problem with my 70mm Vulcan. However, the landing gear, pretty beefy. Looks like they actually do have like a suspension system in them. But just with the 4 bolts, looking at the mounting here, could work, should work. We'll see how it goes. Try to land as best as I can, but we all have our days, right? We're gonna go ahead and get the 4 screws into here so we can get the landing gear mounted, and then we can get these wings on. Going back to the instructions again, I'll definitely say that these are outdated, to say the least. Things are just different. Some things it says you have to install, but they're already installed. And then other things like the landing gear here say that they're already installed, but they're not installed. And then the servos you have to install, but they aren't installed. So it's just, it looks like there's a lot of extra steps that they really cleaned up for the V2 variant, which I appreciate. But the printed instructions that come with the kit definitely need to be a little updated. Not going too crazy on these, just enough to snug everything up. Don't want to put too much pressure on them. They start to crack, and then once they crack, they get weak, and then once they're weak, they rip out when you go to land. So just enough to hold everything in here. Looks nice. Make sure we got room for all of our wires. They are labeled, which is nice. You don't get them mixed up. Cool. One side done. Let's go ahead and get the other side. You know, take this time too to just kind of look at everything around here and just take a look at some of these servo tray covers. I don't know if this one's like loose or if the other side is just really tightened down. Just always a good thing to go ahead and check all this stuff. That looks like it's good, just the way that it is. Make sure your connections are all good. Obviously, you're gonna wanna go through everything one last time before your first flight, after you get everything assembled, but might as well take the time to look at everything while you're going through it. So, quick and easy, main landing gear are in. Let's go ahead and slap these on the fuselage. It's like we got a carbon wing tube here. We're gonna go ahead and insert through, like so. Take 1/2 of our wing, go through and connect everything probably first before we do this. This is where it's gonna get fun. I'm actually gonna grab the foam box to set this in. Like I said, I definitely need one of those stands for this, because this is getting out of hand. Maybe. Actually, if we do that. That works. Maybe. That'll do for what we need. Referencing the insane instructions that give me some things and not other things, I don't see any mention of where these wires are supposed to plug in. If you look, our aileron is really long, so I'd imagine these just go up in. That would make sense, and then our landing gear ones are actually the shorter ones that connect right here. Okay, that makes sense. Just had to think about it for a second. It's all good. Getting this fed through here, if you have like I don't know if I have one. If you have like a spare long push rod laying around that you can kind of bend the tip on. Something like this. I'm just gonna go ahead and find pliers. Just gonna make a little hook on this so we can kind of loop that around. So we're actually gonna feed this through the plane first. Let's see if we can get it to come out the right side here. Ideally, should be able to pull this through, just like that. A little life hack for you. I'll go ahead and connect our landing gear. So the wires line up, snap into place, make sure these are secured. I imagine these just sit down in there like so. So this is a little finicky, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little tight to get situated. Seems like with the retracts closed, it doesn't want to seat properly without the wires set into place where they need to be, but we can't get the wires set into place until the wing is like flush. So kind of a stalemate. So we're gonna loosen this up, see if that helps us out at all, which I believe it should. Okay, I think we're getting there. So make sure we're not pinching any of these wires anywhere. Go ahead and pull the aileron one through a little more. There's like these little grooves in here that I would imagine the wires are supposed to go into. There, I think we got it. All right, got the landing gear tightened back down. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the other wing on here. Get it lined up. Start feeding this through. Actually, we're gonna feed our wire through first. Pull it through. Again, just take some finesse to get everything to go where it needs to here. Open up all these tabs. Boom. Good. Good. Now we should have 4 more screws. Go ahead and put in place here. This screwdriver is magnetic. That's awesome. Kind of gotta do your best here. Just take your time. Don't force it. If it feels weird, stop. Don't strip it. These back ones seem to go on pretty nice. The front ones have been kind of tough. Once it gets kind of started, it seems to be fine. But goodness, I'm putting a lot of like force on these to get it going. It takes one little slip and you get a nice hole in your brand new foam plane. Alrighty, starting to look like a freaking jet. All right, so next up here is we're gonna go ahead and get everything plugged in. So this is a plug and play airplane that I got, meaning that we essentially just need the battery and a receiver to bind it to. So here I have the AR630 6-channel. So here I have the AR630 6-channel receiver from Spectrum that we're gonna be putting in, and we're gonna be binding it to my DX6 here. So we're gonna go ahead and start getting everything plugged in here. Like I said, everything is nicely labeled, which is awesome. So this will make this hopefully a breeze, and I can hopefully remember what all of the slots are for this. Is this a landing gear? What do we have it on the Vulcan? I think it was 5. I'm gonna change that if needed. Aileron again. Do we not have a Y harness for this? That's weird. Why would we not have a Y harness? Oh, probably because we don't have elevator. We gotta mix that together. Duh. Rudder. Throttle. Trying to keep this as organized as I can. This is a bit of a rat's nest. This does have reverse thrust on it, so we're gonna go ahead and connect that to channel 6. Never actually experimented with reverse thrust on a plane before. This is an interesting one to have it, I would say. But makes sense for a lot of jets, especially with how many people are flying off of asphalt runways and things like that. And we're gonna go ahead and just power this thing up, or at least try to get it bound, see where we're sitting at. Hopefully the landing gear don't come flying out. Just set this in here for a second. Okay, it bound. Okay, which one is our Retracts here? I think it's not holding any of them. Hey, look at that. That was awesome. I love the little gear door in the front. That's so sick. I love that. All right, let's go ahead and set this down. There we go. We gotta set up a throttle cut, make sure all of that is good. I just want to make sure everything is set up correctly before I go ahead and just shove everything where it needs to be. That way we don't have to worry about it later. So we'll go ahead, set up a throttle cut first, which is always good to have. So we're gonna put that on switch H here. Should be good. There we are. Next we have to switch these to elevons. This is an older DX6, so a little different from the new ones. I'm gonna go to aircraft type wing, dual aileron, flaperon. No, not flaperon, that's elevon. So let's try that. Ailerons are reversed, so actually we might have to, it gets weird because you can go ahead and reverse the ailerons, but I believe it also reverses the elevator then too, but that's working correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and try, I believe it's elevon B. Try that. Yeah, okay, so now we go ahead and reverse those. And left aileron. There we go. up, right, up, down. Rudder is good. Steerable nose wheel is good. All right, should be all set up, ready to go. See how these retracts work here, going up. Awesome, I love it. I love retractable landing gear. I think it's so cool. Awesome. All right, so now that we know all that's good, go ahead and unplug this. Woo. Does not want to, note to self, does not want to sit without the battery in it. All right, so if we take a look down in here, I have the receiver kind of tucked away nice and neat inside. We'll probably get some Velcro on that just to keep it from moving around. And then the battery is going to sit right here. So I'm actually gonna try to throw this in with one hand if I can, just so we can get it to sit properly. Like the CG and the battery location on this plane is going to be very important. So we're definitely going to take a look at the instructions and possibly just look around online and see what the recommended location is, because this does and can shift forward, back and forth quite a bit. So I want to make sure that we're actually sitting where it should be. Alrighty, so for the most part, we are pretty much done. Now, if we look at the parts that we have left here, obviously we have our nose piece, which should just magnet on the front like that, which is awesome and nice, makes it super easy. We also have these little like fairing pieces, which I believe these just go in right here. We got a different colored one for each side. These just press in. We'll go ahead and throw some glue on these, but for the sake of the video, we're just gonna go ahead and slide these in here. Nice and easy, just like so. And then these guys go back here right above the rudder. They just slide in. We'll definitely glue these ones. These ones seem a little more looser. The front ones, they were really snug. So I don't know if we'll actually get any glue in there, but these ones we'll definitely want to glue in place. We're just gonna slide this one in on this side, kind of squeeze them together so they're even, and there we go. Now for the final pieces, looks like we got this, which we'll just glue onto the front here, so we can do that. And then these are actually little covers for the underside of the landing gear. So if I have the right side here, looks like there's a matte side and then more of a shiny side. Shiny side definitely gonna go up. So then the matte finish matches the rest of the airplane. But those are going to sit about right in here. There's a little recession for them that they fit nice in. So we're gonna go ahead and drop some glue on there, and then those landing gear will be nice and covered. We're gonna go ahead and flip this thing on over so you get access to the underside. Just gonna figure out which one goes where here. Looks like this one goes over here. So we're gonna drop some glue down on here. This glue definitely hardened up in here, didn't it? Oh boy. Hold on. We got a blowout going on here. What's going on here? All right, well, I was trying to use the nice little nozzle that they gave, but I think it dried in the actual nozzle when I used the glue last, and I went to use it, squeezed a little too hard, and it blew right off the side. So now we're left with this. All right, let's try that again. Hopefully any excess. Got a little bit there. All right, I do the same for the other side here. This is where that little stand would come in nice and handy right now. Now, the question is, do these glue in? These probably glue in. I don't know if these are removable. I kind of wish they were removable. I don't think they're gonna be, fortunately. I could be wrong though. Been wrong before. All right, so with all the little accessories on, the last thing we have is our big accessories, which are the additional drop tanks. Now, I have my suspicions, just by looking at this, that these are not going to be removable and that they want us to glue these in. Now, I don't know how strong this glue is supposed to be, but I feel like this is a good amount of, maybe not weight, but just drag that this could be creating on the underside of the wing. So I'm surprised that they don't have like some sort of like plastic clip thing or something that you can remove these if you want. Because I like the look both ways, with and without them. So it's like, if you go with them, you're kind of stuck with them unless they break off, I guess. where you just rip them off and rip the glue out with it. So maybe we can do something with like some Velcro or something like that, so we don't have to make them a permanent part of the plane. Yeah, if you look at the underside here, you can see where they mount in. They kind of just sit right into these little recesses here, just like so. So the only thing it's telling me is that those are going to be glued into place on both sides. Like I said, I like how they look with them on. I just don't know if I want them on all the time, and unfortunately that's a decision that you kind of have to make out of the box. So it was really bugging me about these drop tanks, and what I mentioned earlier about, oh yeah, you need to glue these up in there, and then I went and watched other videos and other people have just the pylons on, but the drop tanks weren't on. I'm like, well, how the heck did they do that? So I went on Motion's website, and you can get the drop tanks, and they were 2 different parts, and they were saying that they're magnetic. So I'm like, hold on a minute. Am I just that big dumb? And yes, I am just that big dumb, because these are absolutely 100% magnetic, and you just glue the pylon in, and then anyway. So there you have it. There's the unboxing and assembly of the Freewing 80mm high performance Mirage 2000. Overall, I'd give this assembly an 8 out of 10. Nothing was apparently hard. There was a lot of things that were assembled for us, which was nice. Really, all we had to do was put the landing gear in, put the wings on, put the tail on. Essentially, that was all that is needed. A few quirks here and there, a couple things like gluing the pieces on. But yeah, overall, 8 out of 10 assembly. It took me about an hour and a half total. A little longer with filming, of course, but if I were to just sit down and crank this out, an hour, hour and a half max is what I could see build time on something like this, from getting it out of the box to getting it to where it's sitting right now. So with that being said, if you want to pick one of these up for yourself or check out any of the other Freewing EDF jets that Motion RC has to offer, I will put a link down in the description below. You can go check it out for yourself, as well as all the other planes that they have. Like I said, the Vulcan is another great EDF jet. It was my first real EDF jet, and it flies fantastic. Still have that one in my collection. This is actually my second really actually big EDF jet that we have. So I'm really looking forward to flying this, and if you want to see that maiden flight and my thoughts on all of that, make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment down below, and keep those notifications on so when the maiden flight video does come out, you can see it right away. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Alex from Hangar 14. We'll see you next time.